Hello and welcome to Conscious TV. My name is Renate McNay and my guest today is Emmet. Hello, Ellen.
Hi.
Now, this is going to be a very interesting interview because Ellen is a non-dual therapist and she teaches yoga from a non-dual perspective, and she also is a teacher for authentic movement. So, Ellen, my first question is, why did you choose to become a therapist for the body? Was there your own attempt in healing yourself, or?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, since a kid, I was always experiencing myself more readily through the body, always dancing and running, and so there was a propensity for me to know myself through the body, and that was the way I experienced joy and freedom. But then later on, when I became a teenager and a young adult, the way that I experienced suffering was also very much experienced at the body level. There was a story, of course, but
Yes.
it was really a lot of contraction in the body. So I when I was in my 20s, I went and sought conventional therapy, talk therapy, and it wasn't satisfactory. So then I found out there was something called dance therapy, and I went to all these workshops and decided to become one eventually. And this was, before I had encountered non-duality or any kind of spiritual understanding. So I was very much seeking healing for this kind of sense of unhappiness that was experienced.
So when you say you always, already as a child, experienced yourself through the body, that's quite something unusual. I cannot remember that I ever did that.
I don't know. I mean, for me, I have this memory of, for example, at age 7, running down the street and just, being one with the running and experiencing just pure freedom and joy, or dancing in my room. And it was just so very natural for me to and of course I didn't have any way of formulating this. It was just natural.
Yes.
But it was an experience of, I guess, of unity and joy. And then, of course, then later, similarly, suffering, the sense of separation, was also extremely acute at a body level.
Yes.
Therefore, there was an intuition that if I was going to heal myself, it would have to involve that level. But this was all still very much at a time.
So when you say healing yourself, what do you actually mean?
Well, then I meant, I didn't know what I meant. I was just unhappy, suffering, and I was wanting relief. And what I mean now by healing is very different, and it changed when I was given the understanding of my true nature, when I met my teacher, really.
So how did that happen? How did you find out who you are? And about non-duality, and tell us about...
I mean, it's hard to pinpoint the moment, but
Yeah.
I would say that it's when I met my teacher, Francis Lucille. And of course, it was a meandering road to that, and maybe many intuitions and kind of things that announced it. But the thing that did it was meeting Francis and hearing his words.
Yes.
And for me also, especially sitting in his yoga classes.
Yeah.
And it turned my world upside down. I mean, I understood that what I had held to be me, this body, this mind, was, thoughts, sensations, perceptions, and that what I truly was this open, spacious, welcoming presence. And, these are words, but it was experienced over and over again. First in short glimpses, and then, in longer and longer experiences.
I took part, I think, in a few of your yoga classes, and I think also once in a Francis Lucille class when I came to visit in Shropshire. And it's completely different than what we normally think of yoga, which is focusing on the breath and doing the postures right.
Absolutely,
Would you
yeah,
like to talk a little bit or explain what the difference is of doing yoga from a non-dual perspective?
Yes. Well, from the non-dual perspective, you take your stand as this openness, as this space, this perceiving, aware space, and from that place, as this space, the body appears, and the body, when it appears from that place, is simply sensation. So it really kind of breaks down the belief that you've held for all these years that what you were was this limited, fixed, solid body. The body now is revealed to be simply sensation, and so I mean it's a radical shift, because it's not just that the body is revealed to be sensation, but the feelings of being me here inside this body, the feelings of knots of emotions, of trauma, of past history that we feel are kind of lodged in different places in the body. All those feelings are experienced very gently and naturally during these yoga sessions as sensations that are given somehow permission to be known as such. And it's a very big shift. It takes, in fact, quite a long time for it to be truly deeply understood.
I can imagine that people who are very much in their mind, who are very heady, find it really difficult.
Yes, in fact, there's a lot of resistance usually to approaching the understanding at the level of sensation and feeling. It's because we're all thinkers in this culture, so it's quite easy to. I mean, I'm not saying that thinking about it can't be a deep experience, but to be willing to feel it, you have, it's going to reveal resistance in the body. And also, when you're sitting there kind of welcoming the body as it is without an agenda, because there is no agenda in this yoga. There isn't as there might be in other yogas, which is fine, a goal to align the body or to free the breath. In this case, in this yoga, there is no agenda. So you're here just with the body as it is, and a lot of feelings come up. Simple feelings, boredom, anticipation, but also kind of deeper, anything really, anything that's part of what you've been holding somehow as you in the body.
And what do you do when it comes up? What do you do with it?
Well, in the yoga that I teach, you really, you don't do anything with it. You take your stand as the space, the quality of space in which this particular sensation appears, and you allow the sensation to flow within you. Or you can also somehow, and it's hard to talk about it because you can only do it, yes. But you as the sensation, you give yourself to the space all around. So you begin to a knotted sensation, as it somehow knows itself to be one with the space around it, naturally expands. So it's that quality. There's no analysis or thinking about the sensation. Or
do you find with people or with yourself doing this type of yoga that the body and allowing and the sensations and whatever, that the body starts rewinding, the nervous system starts rewinding and let go of old stuff?
Definitely, the body unwinds whatever knots. It just, the body just does what comes naturally, and what a body that does what comes naturally does is relax, expand, acquire. It doesn't acquire because it's already its nature, but it's felt to be transparent and weightless and free. And so naturally, of course, at a more relative level, this yoga has benefits. You find over time that certain sensations that you used to have, I used to have this kind of chronic sensation that I called fear in my gut. And I didn't do anything with the sensation, but years of yoga with Francis, one day I realized, oh, it's not there anymore. Or you might notice that your movements are easeful, or your breath is free, and you might not notice your body as much as you used to.
So does that mean awareness embodies? Or the body becomes more presence?
Yes, more. I like that one better.
Yes. Okay.
Because, I mean, if you say awareness embodies, although I know what you mean, the formulation kind of evokes a limitation.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You were telling me some time ago you had an experience where your body became light.
Well, I don't know which one that was.
There are several.
Well, let me think. Do you remember more of what I said?
Well, you were telling me that you were doing this yoga and all of a sudden there was only light.
Did I?
And
I'm sure.
I heard that sometimes.
Yes.
I know. I have a friend in Vienna. I think you know her, Elfriede. She's a cranial therapist. And with her, again, I experience, because she works with the body, there is such an embodiment. She knows every little thing what's going on in her body.
I remember now what you were referring to, yes.
Yeah. And she has this experience, how the transparency of the body.
Yes, well, because I move and dance as a way of expressing myself.
Yes.
I've always loved to do that, and after discovering my true nature, that form of expression at times has been so lovely, because in authentic movement, for example, I think that's what I was describing.
Yeah.
You begin to move, and then you are moved, and then you find yourself doing the most exquisite movements and sensing yourself. And perhaps, for example, I remember doing this movement a lot when I was in the early days after I discovered all this, and it was this feeling that I could move strands of light, and I could move my body, kind of comb my body, and my body was made of light. Yeah. So that was lovely.
Yeah.
But it's not the point.
What is the point?
There is no point. Well, no, the point is not to get lost, because I think what I mean by that is the body, energy, tantric, all this stuff, it's so compelling and seductive. So, and we're all, in this culture, we're kind of so hungry and thirsty for states and experiences. Yeah. So I think that's why I don't think that's to emphasize these, some of us are movers and sensors, and therefore we'll have really lovely moments where presence expresses itself through an exquisite experience like that. But the point is simply to know what you are, and to abide there, or if you don't, to explore what the belief of the moment is. And
so with this authentic movement, I know you gave me once a session, and I would love dancing. I was a ballet dancer as a child, and I still have this in me that's not complete, and I would love. But I experience such a shyness around exposing myself, moving. I mean, you very beautiful guided me into that, and then it was just amazing to observe how the body started moving on its own.
Yes, exactly.
And do you want to?
Well, that's the beauty of the form of authentic movement, is that it's so hands off, and it's really an offering of it. The form itself points to what we are, which is this safe, infinitely open space. And so, you come in as a mover, you close your eyes, and in the beginning, you encounter some resistance, some fear, but that's not, we don't touch it, we let it be. It unfolds, a movement appears that takes you somehow one step further, and soon enough you find yourself been moved in a way that often kind of takes you beyond the personal me.
Yes.
But it's given. In other words, we have no idea what's going to happen. So it's given simply through this taking our stand in not knowing and and allowing simply this space to be.
Yes, but it was also my experience, Ellen, that the body is trying to tell a story, which is with its movement. Am I right?
Yes, I think the body first. There are layers. In the beginning, the kind of personal story will probably express itself and unwind.
Yes.
So that will take a certain shape. Sometimes there'll be emotions or very specific gestures, and then, once that's been given its space, something else might take a shape which will be of another order, maybe more, you could say, transpersonal, some other movement or gesture. But my feeling, first of all, again, it's not really the ultimate point of authentic movement, but my feeling is that the body, given space and openness and allowing, naturally gravitates towards a healing of sorts, which will take different unwindings in different people.
So how can somebody practice that? Or how do you practice that? Do you do something like that on a daily basis?
No.
Or once a week?
Sometimes.
You stand in the middle of the room?
I just because I've done it all my life, or not all my life, but it's something that comes very naturally to me. But I don't think everybody is like that. And I see people for therapy, but not everybody comes to me for authentic movement. I think authentic movement draws people, a tribe of us who somehow are like to move. Simply, like to move and find out something about what and who they are through that modality.
Yes.
So I sometimes do kind of close my eyes and allow, simply take my stand as this openness, and then the body just does what it does. And sometimes it's lovely. It just does something lovely. And sometimes it doesn't do anything. It just doesn't want to move. You don't know. But really, the point of it, that's the thing. The point of it isn't what ends up happening at that level. The point of it is that a person comes, I witness, together we share this openness, this allowing, this absence of an agenda. And of course, I will maybe say things or reinforce that in the beginning. But what we are both sharing is what we are.
Yes.
So that's really, and
that's the beauty.
Yeah. It's in a way the same thing as sitting in satsang, but it's different at the same time.
Yeah. It's great, all these different methods to find ourselves. So you are also a non-dual therapist.
Yes.
Would you like to tell us what is that?
If I only knew it.
What's the difference between the normal therapy and the therapy you are doing?
Yeah, it has got nothing to do with it. And I spent a lot of money and a lot of time training to be first a dance therapist. Then I went back and became a transpersonal psychotherapist. So, and then I met Francis, and at one point I asked him about therapy. And then I asked again. I thought, no. I've invested so much time and money. And anyway, I found my way with it. And my understanding now of therapy is that it's simply I take my stand as this open, allowing presence, and I offer it to this person who's here with me. And as I take my stand there, whatever is needed, whatever needs to be said, or whatever direction needs to be given, it's given. And sometimes it's to do with a person, and sometimes it's to do with something beyond the person. And sometimes I find myself drawing on what I learned in school, doing very psychodynamic or whatever. Yes. But it's always kind of informed from the space from the openness.
Mm-hmm. And how do people respond?
They respond well.
Is there a kind of transition, something energetic happening?
It depends. I mean, it depends who's coming. Some people, they come and they have no idea about their true nature. They're coming because they're struggling with trauma or depression, and I think at first they're a bit surprised because they can tell it's not quite like conventional therapy they were expecting. But they usually appreciate and recognize, because it's universal. They recognize the quality of openness, and they begin to experience it, that all these things that are, for example, trauma, there's such an this happened to me in my past, and I cannot allow myself to experience that again. It is too much. It's going to shatter me. So as openness, I have no fear there's no fear for this experience to be experienced, and so I can communicate that to someone. And at first it's like, but I didn't read that in that book about trauma, and you shouldn't re-traumatize, and and but soon enough the safety gets communicated, and the experience is welcomed, and it's not all that scary. And yes, we can still refer back to the story, but little by little we can let the story rest to the side and just be with this current sensation now. And so it's step by step. It's really simple work. It's just allowing experience, and not having such an agenda with it.
Yeah. Well, it must be incredibly powerful, I can imagine. I never did therapy, but you're just talking and talking, and it keeps you in the mind and reinforcing.
Exactly.
And that brings you on a completely different level.
It does. And sometimes the mind, resists. So you have to kind of give the mind some. It's an art. You learn. It's very enjoyable because you have to meet each one as best you can in the right way, with the right measure of. Sometimes you have to lie a little bit, not lie, but you have to let them be a separate entity, of course.
Yeah.
Then the next week they come back. I don't know.
I guess they are ready at a certain point. Yeah.
Or not.
Or not.
I mean, or not to come to that full understanding.
Yes.
It's not for everybody.
So do you feel are you still a student of Francis, or?
Yes. I mean, I guess once a teacher, always a teacher. I saw him. I spent a lot of time with him, and spend lots and lots of time on retreat with him, and we stay with him when we go to California. So he's still my teacher, I guess, because he's the one who communicated the understanding. But he's a friend more now, I would say.
So I can imagine there's not much you can learn anymore once you realize who you are.
Yes, I think it's true. But I truly enjoy sitting, especially in the yoga with Francis. I just still enjoy it. So the enjoyment feels to me like a learning. I get a lot out of it still. Yeah.
And I know you met Rupert there.
Yes.
Your husband.
Yes.
We had an interview here with him before, Rupert Spira. So you have a lot of non-dual fun with Rupert.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Ellen, I'm just looking at the clock. We have to finish in a moment. Is there anything else you would like to say?
Well, thank you very much for this conversation.
Yeah, well, it's great that you came, and that was Ellen Emmet, and thank you for watching Conscious TV. Goodbye, and I hope we see you soon again. And also we have on Conscious TV, we did that about a year ago, a yoga session, a non-dual yoga session with Ellen. Check that out. Bye-bye for now.